Half and half?
Yes, half and half, and milk and creamer.
Cream.
Sure, we can do raspberries this morning.
Ooh, I like it.
The good stuff.
Ah,
That's all the good stuff.
I agree. Good morning.
A nice day.
Should be. Should be a nice day for daying. Should be a nice day to have a day. Morning, everybody. Good morning. Hey. Yes, I will give it to you momentarily. Let me just do this part first.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome. Y'all, I gotta tell you guys something really important. Who's ready for an extremely important announcement?
It's very, very important. Everybody has to stop what they're doing. If you're driving,
Pull over. It's an extremely important announcement. It turns out, and I think this is going to be shocking to some of you, but it turns out that Secret Fiancé has a secret life as a pirate on the side. So I thought
the seas.
of the seas. That's funnier. I like that. Oh, that was funny. Good job, babe. That's good. That was a good line. Morning. I only just found out this morning about his side job, and I feel a little bit like I've been misled. I didn't know that he was a pirate, and now I'm engaged to a pirate. So weird. You literally did. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't have anticipated it ever. If you had asked me to guess when I met him if he had a side gig as a pirate, I would have told you no. You're on chapter 12, so when does Edith come into play? You know what? I don't remember exactly what chapter Edith comes to play, but
You're
Edith,
pretty close.
you're pretty close to her. She should be coming up soon. Why has he not told us this before? I also, they're saying you need to explain yourself or walk the plank. I think that's fair.
I don't want to walk the plank.
That's fair. He said he's the one who decides who walks the plank. The character of Edith, in case anyone hasn't seen it, head over to Sasha Quinn Books, which is my book account. I made a video yesterday that shows like a lot of the messages I've received from people who love Edith, and none of them know each other, which makes it even funnier. Secret Fiancé is a side pirate. It is what it is. But Edith is apparently such a lovable character that all these people who don't know each other all messaged me with like undying love and commitment to Edith. Like one person said, like, if anything happens to her, I'm burning this place to the ground. And someone else said I would jump in front of a bomb for her. Like crazy things like that. I was like, why is everyone so in love with Edith? They love her. People love Edith. So, I think that's pretty funny. I don't know. I'm obsessed with the fact that people love Edith so much. Makes me very happy. Wait, you didn't guess he was a pirate by looking at him peg leg and an eye patch didn't give it away? The eye patch didn't come until this year. That's why I was confused. Do you love Emma? Emma is very Secret Fiancé. So if you like Emma, you like Secret Fiancé.
Everyone likes Emma. Papa did not like it.
Yeah. Emma has very Secret Fiancé flavor. People love old nice people, so we love you. She's sassy. She's not just nice, she's sassy. Anya said, that's funny, Anya. Anya will not be walking the plank, she will be rolling off the plank.
That's fair. We can accommodate that.
Yeah. Who did you think would be the most lovable character? At the beginning, I thought everyone was going to love Mikey the most, which is, a lot of people do love Mikey, but I love that people love Edith the most. I love that. I do. I love that everyone loves Edith. I'm so thrilled. She's a gem and a jewel. Yeah, she's sassy, but she's also not. Yeah. Mikey is key and it makes things warm for sure. Yeah, Mikey is key. He does. Mikey sets you up for the tone, I think, of it all. Yeah, I think so. If anyone's new here and they don't know what we're talking about, I wrote a book. It's called The Prince of Oregon, and you can find all about it on Sasha Quinn Books here on the Tickety Talks, also on the Instagrams and theprinceoforegon.com, and you can buy it on Amazon and on Kindle. I did write a book, and everyone loves Edith, so buy it just to learn about Edith, apparently. You have the milk bag? He said no, he does not want milk.
Do not trust that avocado.
I thought you were going to say you don't trust milk. I was like, bad news for us. I feel like I want Sally Fields to be Edith. That would be funny. Sally Fields could be a great Edith. I don't know if you guys saw this, but some people have been clamoring for an Edith backstory book, which I think is very funny because she had a wild life. So maybe my third book. Yeah, you haven't read. You need to finish the book. She did. Your 14-year-old's currently reading. That's amazing, Amanda. Will you please let me know how that goes, Amanda? Because I've been saying to everyone that, like, you can read it with your kid or with your grandma. And as far as, like, content goes, of course, it's safe for them. But I'd like to know, I want to know, Amanda. Like, literally, I want to know if she laughs the same way we do, you know? So, yeah, please let me know. I'm very genuinely interested in that. Here you go. This is for you.
Did you give it to Natasha?
Not yet.
Why not?
Because I hadn't seen her since I got printed copies.
Oh.
I will give her a copy. For those of you who don't know, Natasha is my goddaughter. You can see her all over my page. She's not a secret, and her parents are not against putting her face on the internet. So she has, since she's been a teenager, they've let her participate in videos. So she's not a secret. My 18-year-old is reading it with me. Oh, amazing. I love that, Tiffany. Let me know what she thinks also. I'm interested in all the different perspectives. Obviously, I want to know what everybody thinks, but it is interesting to know, like, a 14-year-old versus an 18-year-old versus us. You know what I mean? Because those are three very different reading brains. Very different. This coffee is amazing. You should taste it right now and enjoy your life so much. Oh, my gosh. We should order way more. Like, since this is a limited edition flavor, we should order some more so that we don't, like, live without it.
You thought you weren't gonna like it.
I didn't like it without the Italian cream. With the Italian, that's what makes it good.
What's it about?
They have a new raspberry pod, Kristen. It's raspberry. It's so good. I don't usually like fruity coffee.
Oh, that's amazing. It's limited? They're gonna get rid of it?
They said it's limited for now, but I mean, I'll just, if you remind me, or one of us later today, I'll go on and I'll just order like 10 boxes of it just so that we can have it in the rotation.
We can go back to that mall this week.
Oh, because you have to go shopping anyway?
We want to go after work one day.
Okay, let's do that then. Bianco Doppio is a favorite of ours as well. She's on like chapter 4 and she loves it. That's amazing, Tiffany. I'm so excited.
To go there at the very, very end.
Yeah, we have to do that very last. Yeah. So that we can, there's an espresso store in our local mall and they validate parking, but you only have 10 minutes to get out. And it's a huge mall, so you like can't do anything else once you go to Nespresso. You're just like done. They handed us and they were like, okay, please exit the parking structure within 10 minutes. And we were like, it's gonna take us 10 minutes to get to the parking structure. There's only one coffee who would dare give me the raspberry. Lone Star. Liz knew that would trigger me to quote something because I put a Spaceballs quote in my book and then referenced it as a Spaceballs quote in the book. Yes. We're going to smoothie dance here shortly, friends. So anyone who has any questions, now's the time. Oh, just kidding. It's smoothie dance time. Prep your dance, friends. What blender do you guys have? What blender do we have?
We have a. We have a Versa.
A Versa. Is there going to be a volume 2 to the Prince of Oregon? That's not in the plans currently, but I will think about it. I have another book that I'm working on right now. Like, I'm in the planning phase of another book that I think is going to be really fun. So I'm going to work on that first. No, you can't sue a pirate. No, they just leave, you know? They just don't care.
You can't sue a pirate.
Someone asked if you could sue a pirate, and I said, I don't think so.
Why would you want to sue me?
Why do you want to sue him?
What did I do?
I love Monday Book Club because Saturday morning, Monday is longer. Yes, Monday morning. I don't know, Tiffany. We're gonna have to ask Catherine more about that. I don't really know.
Tropical smoothie!
Whoa, so tropical! So tropical! So tropical. Nom 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 nom.
So we'll be having tropical smoothies all the time!
Whoa!
Tropical drinks.
Oh, they're trying to sue for inaccessible planks, but not to you because you have an accessible plank.
No, that's the first thing.
Yeah. No. Secret Fiance's plank is inaccessible. The idea is one you and the Hathaway. The idea of you is one in Anne Hathaway. Oh, okay. I didn't know, Kristen. I didn't know. My sister was telling me all new things. That's hilarious.
There's one
Becca.
situation where it works out better for you.
What?
It's like, oh, it's not accessible. Sorry, we can't make you walk the plank.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Maybe this is the one case.
For you.
What?
It's like, oh, it's not accessible. Sorry, we can't make you walk the plank.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Maybe this is the one case where you don't want to be accommodated.
Yeah. It feels.
Because you survive.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, listen, I'm not going to speak on behalf of a community that I'm not a part of. So if the wheelchair community wants an accessible plank, we will give them an accessible plank. But I'm telling you, the inaccessibility could be a lifesaver. Just this once. Literally a lifesaver. I don't know.
Something to think about.
It is something to think about. Yeah. They would like to know what is in the smoothie.
Mango and what are those yellow ones called?
Pineapple?
Pineapples, that's it.
What are those yellow ones called? Continue.
Mango, pineapple, banana, and carrots.
That's very strange, Liz.
One of these is not like the others, but what are you gonna do?
Which one's not like the others?
Carrots.
Carrots are great.
No, carrots are great, but they're not what I would consider a tropical.
You're right, but they are in the same color family.
Yes, and that helped sway me.
All right. You also, Nikki? That's weird. TikTok did they have an update or something? Oh, it just happened to 3 people? That's weird.
You got kicked off the stream?
They didn't get kicked off the stream. It just like showed a different video, but they could still hear me or whatever. Anya says, I'm actually currently finding ways to save myself, hence saying I can't walk the plank. Sure, yeah. So maybe we want a very narrow, non-accessible plank is the best option for you. I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing. Anya would like to join up your pirate gang. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. She's going to be part of your cohort.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How does she feel about extreme violence?
How do you feel about extreme violence?
Yeah, pirates after all.
Pirates are pretty violent. We had this discussion the other day, actually. We were talking about the violence of pirates, and I was like, not all pirates are violent. And he said, name a pirate that's not violent. And I named the ones in this book, and he said, those were written by a very small boy. And I said, Connor's not a small boy, he's a teenager. And he said, fine, a very medium boy. It was funny. This morning, Secret Fiance was trying to explain something very serious about his job to me because I had a question. He said XYZ, and I said, what's XYZ? And he said, well, it's ABC. And I was like, oh, like FYQ? And he was like, no, that would be too hard. And I was like, oh, I don't understand. And so he's explaining it to me. And because he had just woken up, his sleep mask was half on his face and he looked like a pirate. And I couldn't stop laughing because I couldn't take him seriously. Talking about serious work stuff with like half of my arr. It was funny to me. We'll make sure that those deserving of death will walk the plank.
Oh,
And it will be an inclusive plank in their case, but not in hers.
good. That works for me.
That seems fair, right? Okay, great. Yes. Becca, I can't see the whole thing, but I'll look after this. All right, so we are on chapter 19 called War of the Worlds. Whoa. Can I be a violent when necessary pirate like a social justice pirate? Sure. I don't see an issue with that. Yeah. Okay. War of the Worlds. It's getting intense, you guys. While the fairies battled the witches in Central Park, General Wilson and his Marines were up against the fight of their lives. The literary army had the strongest, fastest, and most efficient opposition the United States soldiers had ever faced. The flying monkeys swooped in from the sky and yanked the Marines' weapons out of their hands before they even knew what was happening. The Jolly Roger blasted their cannons at all the Marines, Hummers, tanks, and at the rooftops where the pirates spotted snipers. Once they were virtually defenseless, the Winkies and the Card Soldiers rounded up the Marines in Midtown Manhattan and forced them to kneel in the middle of 59th Street on the edge of Central Park. The Winkies and the Card Soldiers surrounded the captured Marines while the Jolly Roger and the Flying Monkeys watched them from the air above. The literary soldiers only parted as the Wicked Witch, the Queen of Hearts, and Captain Hook came to have a word with the prisoners. Which one of you is in charge? The Queen of Hearts asked. Against his sergeant's advice, General Wilson got to his feet and addressed the literary villains. I am, he announced. I'm General Gunther Wilson of the United States Marines. Who the heck are you people? Now, General, the Wicked Witch said. That's no way to speak to your new commanders. The United States Marines answer to only one commander, and that's our commander-in-chief, General Wilson said. And where is he? Captain Hook asked and looked around the New York street. He must step forward immediately and surrender the other world to us. She is in Washington, D.C., General Wilson said, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you'll never get close to her. You see, we're just a fraction of the United States military. The rest of it is surrounding the city as we speak. The minute you step off this island, you'll be annihilated. The Wicked Witch, the Queen of Hearts, and Captain Hook were amused by the General's remarks. The villains looked at one another and howled with menacing laughter. Then we'll disarm them just as easily as we disarmed you, the Queen of Hearts said. This isn't the first world we've conquered, General, and it won't be the last. Soon the heads of your precious military and the commander-in-chief will be mounted on our wall. But you and your men don't have to perish in the process, the Wicked Witch said. You and your men could join our army and be a part of our great empire. General Wilson took off his sunglasses so the villains could see every inch of his disgusted and impassioned scowl. We would rather die than join the likes of you, he shouted. So be it, Captain Hook said. Mr. Smee, prepare the cannons. The pirates aboard the Jolly Roger loaded the ship's cannons and aimed them at the Marines. The general and his soldiers closed their eyes and braced themselves for a massacre. On my count of 3, Captain Hook ordered. 1, 2. Suddenly, the Dalai Lama descended from the sky and shielded the Marines from the Jolly Roger's cannons. The floating ships were so close to each other that the pirates could see the whites of one another's eyes. Peter Pan stood beside Captain Auburn Sally and Admiral Jacobson on the upper deck. Oi, codfish! Peter Pan called down to the captain. Miss me? The sight of Peter Pan made Captain Hook growl like a wounded animal. Peter Pan! He roared. What are you doing in the other world? I
couldn't let you have all the fun without me now, could I? Peter Pan taunted him. Leave these Marines alone, Captain. Finish your fight with me before you pick another. Captain Hook glared at the boy who wouldn't grow up with so much hatred. It was a miracle his face didn't catch fire. Smee, drop a ladder, Captain Hook ordered. Mr. Smee rolled a rope ladder off the side of the ship and it touched the ground. Captain Hook grabbed a hold of the ladder and pointed to the Dalai Lama with his hook. After that ship, he commanded. Peter Pan stuck his tongue out at Captain Hook. Admiral Jacobson spun the Dalai Lama's wheel and the ship rose higher into the sky, with the Jolly Roger soaring after it. The flying monkeys also flew after the Dalai Lama to assist the Jolly Roger, but the creatures came to an abrupt stop when the Ziblings' colorful jet zipped into their path. The superheroes and their adoptive father waved at the monkeys from inside the cockpit.
Attention hominid arthropodi hybrids,
Professor Wallace said through the aircraft speakers.
Resist your animalistic urges and spare yourselves from cataclysmic fate.
The flying monkeys scratched their heads and looked at one another in confusion. The Ziblings rolled their eyes at the professor's terminology, and Bolt took the microphone from him.
In translation, just cause monkey see don't mean monkey do,
Bolt said.
Ditch the flying ship and come with us. Make it worth your while.
Morph transformed into a pile of bananas to tease the monkeys. The winged creatures were tempted to go after the Ziblings' jet, but they glanced down at the Wicked Witch for permission first.
Tear that chunk of flying metal apart,
the Wicked Witch ordered them. Since the flying monkeys were under the witch's spell, they had no choice but to obey her. The winged creatures hurled after the Ziblings' jet with their claws raised and their sharp teeth exposed. The superheroes yanked on the aircraft's gears, and the jet zoomed into the clouds. I dare say, merry man, shouted a boisterous voice. What sort of self-respecting man refers to himself as a Winky? The Wicked Witch looked down 59th Street and saw Robin Hood, Little John, Allen a Dale, Will Scarlet, and Friar Tuck standing at Columbus Circle. The Circle was a New York City landmark that had a tall statue of Christopher Columbus in the center of a roundabout connecting 59th Street to Broadway. Would you look at that hideous woman the Winkies take orders from? Robin Hood said. Do you know what we in Locksley call a woman with one eye, terrible clothes, and a haggard face? I don't know, Robin, Little John said. What do you call her? Single, the Prince of Thieves declared. The merry men burst into a fit of laughter, and the Wicked Witch grunted at the insult, and a steam piped out of her ears.
After those arrogant men,
she ordered. Also under the witch's spell, the Winky soldiers immediately sprinted down the street and dashed after the Prince of Thieves. The Wicked Witch sat side saddle on her magic umbrella and flew above the soldiers. Robin Hood and the merry men hightailed it out of Columbus Circle and ran north on Broadway, leading their followers to another part of the city. As the Queen of Hearts watched the Wicked Witch and the Winkies race off, a stiff hand unexpectedly tapped her on the shoulder. Excuse me, ma'am, a voice behind her said. Would you happen to know how to get to Grand Central Station from here? The Queen of Hearts turned around and discovered the Tin Woodsman standing behind her. The Queen had never seen a man made of metal before, and a delighted squeal escaped her lips. She stepped towards the man with eyes like a predator. My word, what a remarkably rare head you have, she said, and stroked the side of his face. It would be a wonderful addition to my collection. Come again? The Tin Woodsman said. Guards, seize this man at once, the Queen of Hearts shouted, and off with his head! And this is why you don't ask for directions in strange cities, the Tin Woodsman said to himself. The Ozian ran from the deranged queen as fast as his tin legs would carry him. He took a sharp turn on Fifth Avenue and headed south into the city, and the card soldiers hurried after him. The Queen of Hearts snapped her fingers, and two of the soldiers joined hands and scooped her up, carrying her with them as they chased after the Tin Woodsman. Unbeknownst to the literary army, they had just been strategically lured away by Connor's friends and characters, and the villains had taken the bait like a hungry school of fish. Now that the Jolly Roger was flying after the Dalai Lama, and the flying monkeys were following the Ziblings, the Winkies were running after the merry men, and the card soldiers were chasing the Tin Woodsman, the General and the Marines were left completely unattended on 59th Street. The Marines looked around the street in total bewilderment. How had they gone from facing certain execution to freedom so quickly? Sir, what just happened? The Marine asked. That's what we call luck, Sergeant, General Wilson responded. Let's not press it any further. Your orders, sir? Another Marine asked. Evacuate Manhattan immediately, General Wilson said, and someone get the president on the phone at once. We need authorization to wipe out those barbarians before they disperse. Sir, what does that mean? I'm saying we're at DEFCON 2, Sergeant, the general barked. We need to vaporize this island while those savages are still on it. In less than an hour, New York City will only exist in our memories. The Dalai Lama snaked between the city's buildings with the Jolly Roger hot on its tail. The pirates fired their cannons at one another, but the ship floated so freely it was difficult to hit their targets. Cannonballs slammed into the high rises as they sailed past, leaving a trail of shattered glass, broken antennas, and a busted corporate logo throughout Midtown Manhattan. Enough cat and mouse games, Captain Auburn Sally announced. It's time to confront these scallywags face to face. The Dalai Lama set sail for the Empire State Building and then made a dramatic turn. Admiral Jacobson tied down the ship's helms and the Dalai Lama began to circle the Empire State Building. The Jolly Roger mimicked the maneuver and also revolved around the building. Captain Auburn Sally and her crew swung onto the observation deck while Admiral Jacobson and his fleet manned the cannons. Captain Hook and his men joined the women on the observation deck, leaving Smee to operate all the Jolly Roger's cannons on his own. The men of the Jolly Roger and the women of the Dalai Lama formed lines at the opposite ends of the observation deck and drew their weapons. Men like you give pirates a bad name, Captain Auburn Sally said. You aren't pirates, Captain Hook said with a laugh. You're just a bunch of little girls with attitude. Then I feel sorry for you, Hook, Auburn Sally said, because you and your men are about to get your booty handed to you by a bunch of little girls. Ladies, charge! The pirates from Starboardia and the pirates from Neverland clashed in a swashbuckling spectacle 86 stories above the ground. Cannonballs flew above their heads and circling ships sparred in the air. The sounds of clanking swords and firing cannons echoed into the streets of New York City. The crew of the Dalai Lama were gifted swordswomen, but they also used their signature moves to battle the men of the Jolly Roger. Winking Wendy made her opponent sick by flashing the empty socket of her eye patch. Fish Lips Lucy gave her adversaries painful hickeys when they least expected it. Somersault Sydney tumbled across the observation deck and knocked down the men in her path like they were bowling pins. Stinky Feet Phoebe held her feet against her challengers' faces until the fumes made them lose consciousness. Too much rum Rhonda broke empty bottles of rum over the pirates' heads. And after a long week at the St. Andrews Children's Hospital commissary, Rhonda had a lot of empty bottles. While the pirates battled the top of the Empire State Building, Peter Pan covertly flew over to the Jolly Roger. He quietly searched the ship's deck for Tinkerbell, but the fairy was nowhere to be found. Looking for this, Peter? Captain Hook called to him. Peter Pan jerked his head toward the sound of Hook's voice. The captain was standing on the edge of the observation deck with a jar dangling from his hook. Peter Pan saw Tinkerbell trapped inside it. Give her back! Peter Pan shouted. If you want her, come and get her, Captain Hook yelled. Peter Pan removed the dagger from his boot and met Captain Hook on the edge of the observation deck. The literary characters fought each other with more intensity than ever before. The more they fought, the higher they climbed, and as soon as they were dueling on the roof of the observation deck, Captain Hook climbed up a ladder on the side of the building's spire, while Peter hovered on the air beside him, all while blocking deadly blows from one another's weapons. Finally, Captain reached the very top of the building's spire and couldn't climb any higher. Hand over the fairy, Peter Pan demanded. The captain couldn't tell if Peter was deliberately taunting him, but he still cringed at the word hand. Do you know what I wish I could do more than anything in this world, Peter? Captain Hook asked. Clap, Peter Pan guessed. What? The captain asked. No! Do a handstand? No! Play the piano? Stop it! Stop making appendages jokes! Why? Is it getting out of hand? You are so immature, Captain. Now's not a time to point fingers. Peter Pan was beside himself with laughter. Captain Hook growled angrily and got back to his point. More than anything, I want to see you lose something you love, the captain said. But since it's impossible to hold you down and cut off your hand, I've decided to hit you where it hurts the most. You want Tinkerbell back? Catch. Captain Hook threw Tinkerbell's jar into the air and it plummeted toward the street below. Peter Pan dived after the jar, and as he passed the Jolly Roger, Mr. Smee fired a cannon at him. Instead of a cannonball, though, a wide net erupted from the cannon and wrapped itself around Peter. The boy landed on the roof of the observation deck and was too firmly tangled to save Tinkerbell. Tink! Peter screamed. The Rosary Chicken hadn't moved from the deck of the Dalai Lama since the battle began, but as she watched the helpless fairy fall to her death, the chicken knew this was her moment to contribute. The Rosary Chicken plunged toward the jar, but just as she clutched the jar's handle with her beak, the chicken suddenly remembered that she could not fly. "Squaw!" the Rosary Chicken squawked as she fell towards her own certain death. Fortunately, her desperate chirps were heard by another one of Connor's characters. At the top of the Dalai Lama's mast, the blissworm emerged from its cocoon to save its friend. However, the blissworm didn't exit its chrysalis as a smiling, squishy space worm. Instead, a massive creature slipped out of the cocoon and landed on the deck of the Dalai Lama with a loud thud. The creature had bulging biceps, defined abdominal muscles, 3 feathered antennae, and a wide set of wings whose pattern, when they stretched, resembled a sad face. The blissworm had evolved into the next phase of its metamorphosis, a ferocious, mad moth. The mad moth got to its feet and roared like a Tyrannosaurus Rex and beat on its broad chest like a gorilla. The creature was such a fascinating sight that all the pirates on the Empire State Building stopped fighting to watch it. Some even took a seat. The mad moth leaped off the Dalai Lama, using the entire ship as a diving board, and whooshed towards Tinkerbell and the Rosary Chicken. The mad moth caught up to the chicken and the fairy within a few feet of the street. "Squaw!" The Rosary Chicken was more afraid of the mad moth than it was to fall. The massive insect returned to the Dalai Lama and gently placed the chicken and Tinkerbell's jar on the deck. Peter Pan and the characters from Starboardia cheered as the mad moth's bold rescue. It was so impressive, even a few of the Jolly Roger pirates had to clap. "No!" Captain Hook yelled. "He was supposed to lose something that he loved!" The livid captain slid down the Empire State Building spire and landed beside Peter Pan on the roof of the observation deck. The boy was still trapped inside the net and couldn't move. Captain Hook raised his sword above Peter's head, preparing to strike him with a final, fatal blow. Right before the captain would have slain the boy who wouldn't grow up, Auburn Sally somersaulted across the roof and sliced off Captain Hook's remaining hand. The captain's sword and his hand fell to the ground. "Ah!" the captain roared in agony. Strangely, instead of blood gushing from the captain's veins, the only thing that came out was words. All the adjectives that James M. Barrie used to describe the horrible Captain Hook spewed from the captain's severed wrist. Captain Hook tucked his wounded arm into his shoulder and lost his balance. He fell over the railing of the observation deck and plunged toward the ground. The captain hit the street with such a powerful thump that the entire block rattled. When the pirates looked down, instead of seeing Captain Hook's body, they saw more of James M. Barrie's words splattered across the pavement. The words slowly sizzled into smoke and disappeared. After witnessing their captain's fall to death, the Jolly Roger pirates raised their hands in surrender. Peter Pan was cut free of the net and happily reunited with Tinkerbell. Not-so-Jolly Joan burst into tears and blew her nose into Peg-Leg Peggy's shoulder. "What's wrong, Joan?" Peg-Leg Peggy asked. "Oh, it's nothing," Not-so-Jolly Joan sniffled. "I just love a happy ending." The Ziblings jet soared through the sky above New York City, but no matter how inconsistently they piloted the aircraft, the superheroes couldn't lose the flying monkeys trailing them. Blue Bow joined the swarm of winged creatures as they soared after the jet, but not because he was under the Wicked Witch's spell. The little monkey was looking for his family and spotted his parents at the front of the flock.
Mom! Dad! It's me! Blue Bow!
He shouted. "Blue Bow?" his mother cried. "What are you doing here?"
You were supposed to stay.
"You were supposed to stay at the witch's castle in Oz," his father said. Despite the concerned expression on their faces, Blue Bow's parents never slowed down to greet their son, or even turned to see him. Like all the other monkeys, they kept their eyes fixed on the Ziblings' jet.
I met some friends who were going to stop the Wicked Witch, Blue Bow told them. Those superheroes are with us. They're the good guys. You've got to stop chasing them before somebody gets hurt.
"I wish we could, son," his father said. "As long as the Wicked Witch is wearing that golden cap, the monkeys are under her control."
I know, but can't you fight the spell?
Blue Bow asked. "We tried, sweetheart, but it's no use," his mother said. "The Wicked Witch's magic is too powerful. You should get out of here and enjoy your life while you still can. Once you get older, you'll be under the witch's control too." Despite his parents' advice, Blue Bow wasn't ready to give up just yet. The little monkey left the flock and glided towards the city on a daring mission to save himself, his parents, and his species. Eventually, the flying monkeys caught up with the Ziblings' jet. The creatures landed on the aircraft's wings and began ripping it apart panel by panel. A loud alarm sounded inside the cockpit to warn the passengers. "That's not good," Professor Wallet said. "Those chimps are going to make us crash if we don't intervene."
Don't worry, Dad. We'll take care of it, Bolt said. You stay inside and steer. We'll go outside and save the jet before it goes bananas.
Get it? Because they're monkeys? Blaze, Whitney, and Morph sighed a little at their brother's joke. "You've really got to work on those one-liners, Bolt," Whitney said. "Yeah, it's kind of crucial if you want to be remembered," Blaze said. "But more importantly, merchandised," Morph said. The Ziblings crawled out of the hatch at the top of the cockpit to handle the flying monkeys outside. The aircraft was speeding at 100 miles per hour. Blaze, Whitney, Morph, and Bolt had to hold on tightly to the edge of the wing so they didn't fly off. Blaze hit the flying monkeys with a fiery blast from the tips of his fingers. Whitney whipped the creatures off the jet with her long braided hair. Morph transformed into a giant octopus and knocked the monkeys off the aircraft with his enormous limbs. Bolt zapped the monkeys with bursts of electricity, but since they were all clinging to a metal object, every time he missed, he accidentally electrocuted his brothers and sister. "Bolt!" they yelled in unison. "Sorry, my bad," he apologized. Soon there were so many flying monkeys covering the jet, the aircraft looked like a large black bird flying through the air. One of the monkeys ripped off a panel and found a bundle of wires underneath it. The monkey sliced the wires with its teeth and the jet engine stopped working. The Ziblings' jet suddenly dropped from the sky and plunged toward the street. "Hold on tight, children!" Professor Wallet's voice came through the speakers. "It's going to be a bumpy landing." Their mission complete, the flying monkeys abandoned the wings of the jet. Morph transformed into a giant parachute to ease the approaching impact, but the jet was too heavy. The Ziblings' jet smashed through the roof of a Broadway theater and nosedived into the orchestra pit. A rough landing knocked the wind out of the superheroes, and they slid down the aircraft and rolled into the theater stage. Professor Wallet crawled out from a mountain of airbags and rested beside his children. Bolt looked around the theater as he caught his breath. It could have been worse," he said. "We could have landed off Broadway." The smallest superhero snickered at his own joke, and much to his surprise, his brothers and sister laughed too. "Much better," Blaze said. "Now that was a good line," Morph said. "See, it just takes practice," Whitney said. Suddenly, a high-pitched screeching echoed inside the theater. The Ziblings looked through the fresh hole in the roof and saw that the flying monkeys were headed toward the theater. They weren't finished with the superheroes yet. The Ziblings were catching their breath, so Bolt leapt. The other Ziblings were catching their breath, so Bolt leapt to his feet and flew toward the ceiling. "I'll be right back," Bolt said. "I've got some monkey business to take care of." His brothers and sister groaned. "And you lost me," Blaze said. "Less is more," Morph said. "Should have stopped at Off-Broadway," Whitney said. Bolt rocketed out of the theater and soared right past the flying monkeys. Just the way a bird protects her nest from predators, the distraction worked, and monkeys followed Bolt instead. The superhero flew east and spotted the Chrysler building in the distance. The sparkling skyscraper gave Bolt an idea. He landed at the very tip of the building's sharp spire, and the winged creatures landed below him. The monkeys charged up the side of the building towards the little superhero, intending to tear him apart like the Ziblings' jet. Bolt waited until all the flying monkeys were on the Chrysler building's metal-coated roof, and then he looked up at the clouds, summoned a powerful bolt of lightning from the sky, and the lightning hit the spire and sent a wave of electricity through the building. The extreme voltage made every light bulb burst, every window shattered, and it electrocuted all the flying monkeys. The winged creatures were zapped so hard that they looked like balls of fur with wings. The monkeys fluttered to the ground and passed out as soon as they hit the street. "Well, that put a monkey wrench in their day," Bolt chuckled. The little superhero was so proud of himself for defeating the flying monkeys, he didn't even need his siblings' approval on his one-liner. He threw his head back and laughed until his belly hurt. The Winkies and the Wicked Witch followed Robin Hood and the Merry Men up Broadway to Lincoln Center. The center was home to 5 large theaters that sat around a spacious courtyard and a large fountain at the center. Robin Hood and the Merry Men sprinted up the steps of the courtyard, and although there were plenty of places to run, they all stopped at the edge of the fountain. The Winkies quickly filled the courtyard and surrounded the Merry Men and with their weapons raised.
You morons give up so easily,
The Wicked Witch remarked. "Do you hear that shrill sound, Merry Men?" Robin Hood asked. "The witch's voice is even uglier than her face. I did not think that was possible."
Silence,
the Wicked Witch commanded. I mean, look at her, Robin continued. The witch is so ugly. When she was born, the doctor probably slapped her twice because he didn't know which end was which.
All right, that's enough.
The witch is so ugly. She went to a funeral and the corpse got up and ran away.
If you don't shut up right now,
The witch is so ugly. She was voted the national animal of Scotland. The Wicked Witch tapped her umbrella on the ground, and a dirty sock appeared in Robin Hood's mouth.
I'm going to enjoy watching you die,
The Wicked Witch declared.
Winkies, kill this pompous man and the imbecile followers, and do it slowly.
The Winkies lunged towards Robin Hood and his merry men, but before they could strike the Prince of Thieves, they were distracted by a large object overhead. The Charlie Chaplin rose over Lincoln Center like an inflatable sun. Beau Rogers stood in the doorway of the Blimp's gondola, wearing a lost talisman of pharaoh eczema around his neck.
You aren't the only one who's into mind control, milady, Beau Rogers announced. Allow me to introduce you to my batch of brainwashed warriors.
All the mummies from the Pyramid of Anesthesia crept out from behind the structures of Lincoln Center and surrounded the Wicked Witch with her Winkies.
My soldiers have already met their maker. Now it's your turn,
Beau said.
Nice, quick, kid,
Emoji followed from the Blimp's steering wheel.
Thanks, Aunt Emoji,
He said,
Mummies, attack!
The undead soldiers approached the Winkies at a leisurely pace, which was as fast as mummies could move. Unfortunately for Beau and the merry men, their surprise assault didn't go as well as they'd hoped. The Winkies were exceptional fighters and tore through the mummies like they were made of cotton. Within a few minutes, the Winkies had defeated the mummies and trapped Robin Hood and the merry men again. The Wicked Witch let out a deafening cackle.
Any last words?
She asked. Well, merry men, it looks like this is the end, Robin declared. I never thought we would perish at the hands of soldiers with such ridiculous names and more flamboyant clothing than our own. Nonetheless, it has been an honor to travel the universe at your side. Robin, Alan-a-Dale whispered, you're forgetting the next part of the plan? Oh, yeah, Robin Hood said. Thank you, my faithful minstrel. We would have met our demise had it not been for your steel trap of a memory. Moving on. Lost boys, your time has come. Suddenly, the Lost Boys from Neverland appeared on the roof of Lincoln Center Theaters and pelted the Wicked Witch with water balloons.
Take that, you mean old hag, Toodles said. Adults like you are the reason we don't want to grow up, Curly said. Go back to the nightmare you came out of, Nib said. Leave our friends alone, the Lost Twins said.
Although Slightly had been a baby since the Lost Boys visited Marina's cottage, he still did his part and squirted the Wicked Witch with his bottle. Soon the Wicked Witch was drenched and she began to smoke and sizzle as the liquid melted her body, just as had happened with Captain Hook. Instead of bodily fluid, the witch dissolved into words. All the prose that L. Frank Baum had used to describe the Wicked Witch in his book was now dripping from the witch's body.
You horrid little brats, the Wicked Witch screamed in pain. You'll pay for this one day. You may have stopped me in the outer world, but I'll get my revenge in the underworld.
The witch staggered across the Lincoln Center courtyard, leaving puddles of words as she went. She tripped and fell headfirst into the fountain and disintegrated completely. Friar Tuck knelt beside the fountain and said a prayer for the salvation of her soul. Now that the Wicked Witch of the West was dead, her vicious spell over the Winkies was lifted. They dropped their weapons and pranced around the courtyard in celebration. Alan-a-Dale strummed a happy tune so that they had something to dance to. What's going on? Robin Hood asked. Why are the Winkies skipping around like they are intoxicated? Robin, they've been freed, Beau Rogers called down to him. The witch has been controlling them for years. You mean the witch forced you to wear those obnoxious outfits and answer to that degrading name? No. We had those before the witch's spell, a Winky said. Robin was greatly disturbed to hear this. Might there be another witch involved? He asked. Suddenly, Bluebow swooped down from the sky and landed on the edge of the fountain. He dived and searched through the Wicked Witch's watery remains. The others were curious what the monkey was doing and gathered around the fountain to watch it.
I found it,
He announced. Bluebo resurfaced with the witch's golden cap in his hands. He threw it on the ground and then smashed it with one of the Winky's spears until it broke into 100 pieces.
There,
Bluebo said with a satisfied smile.
from this moment forward, no one will ever control the flying monkeys again.
The Winkies cheered for the monkeys' newfound freedom, and although the merry men, the lost boys, and the archaeologists had no idea what Bluebo was talking about, they joined the characters from Oz and danced around Lincoln Center in celebration. Such a strange place, this Oz, Robin Hood declared. It's not every day you converse with witches, monkeys, and Winkies. Actually, it reminds me of a weekend I had in France. The card soldiers and the Queen of Hearts followed the Tin Woodsman from Midtown all the way down to Washington Square Park in Lower Manhattan. The park was famous for the towering arch that stood at the north entrance. The woodsman hurried through the arch, expecting to see the park filled with cyborgs from the Galaxy Queen, but the cyborgs were late. Oh dear, the Tin Woodsman said. The card soldiers caught up with the Tin Woodsman and formed a circle around him. They pointed the sharp ends of their staffs at the metal man, and he dropped his axe. The Queen of Hearts sauntered into the circle and strutted around the Tin Woodsman, eyeing him like he was a delicious treat.
Hold him down, she ordered with a devilish smile. I want to cut off his head myself.
The soldiers grabbed the Tin Woodsman by the arms, and he kicked his legs out from underneath him and forced him into a kneeling position. The Queen of Hearts picked up his axe and practiced swinging it. So you're the one they call the Queen of Hearts? The Tin Woodsman asked. That's correct, the Queen said. But I don't understand, he said. You invade other people's homes and claim them as your own. You cut off people's heads for sport. How can you be the Queen of Hearts when you act so heartless? Is your head hollow? The Queen asked with a snort. Every creature in existence has a heart. It's just a muscle that pumps blood through the rest of your body. What are you talking about? That's compassion. That's much rarer and a total waste of time, if you ask me. The Tin Woodsman's eyes darted back and forth as he tried to make sense of it all. So what I've been searching for this whole time, I've actually had inside me all along? He asked. His jaw dropped and his eyes widened as he made the greatest discovery of his life. The Queen of Hearts shared a confused glance with her card soldiers. Was the man she was about to decapitate asking her about life lessons? I'm told that this is a conclusion most people come to before the end of their life, she said. Lucky for you, you've reached it just in time. Now, hold your head steady, because this is going to hurt. His realization made the Tin Woodsman feel like he had seen the world for the first time. He was so overwhelmed, tears filled his eyes, but he couldn't get all emotional and rest. He needed to save himself from the Queen of Hearts so his new life could begin. Wait, the Tin Woodsman said. If you're so fascinated by my head, you should see my heart. Stupid man, the Queen said. You just said you didn't have one. Now you want to make me look at it? It was a mistake, he said. You may be the Queen of Hearts, but I guarantee you've never seen a heart like mine before. The Tin Woodsman had captured the Queen's attention, and she raised a curious eyebrow. Very well. Before I cut off your head, I'll have a look at your heart. Turn him over. The card soldiers pulled the Tin Woodsman up and turned him on his back. The Queen of Hearts leaned over his metal torso and yanked open the small door in his chest. To her horror, the Queen didn't find a heart at all, but a tiny little woman standing inside him. Boo! Trollbella screamed. Ah! The Queen of Hearts screamed. The Queen was so stunned that she dropped the Tin Woodsman's axe and stumbled backwards. The soldiers pinning the Tin Woodsman quickly went to help the Queen. Trollbella jumped to the ground and retrieved the axe and tossed it to the Tin Woodsman once he was to his feet. The Queen of Hearts roared with anger and pointed a finger at the unlikely duo. Seize them at once, she yelled, and off with both of their hair! Before the Queen of Hearts could finish her sentence, the Tin Woodsman swung his axe with all his might and chopped off the Queen's head. Again, just as with the other literary villains, the only thing that spewed out of her body was words. All the adjectives, adverbs, verbs, nouns that Lewis Carroll had used to describe the unpleasant monarch sprayed out of the Queen's neck. Eventually, the words dried up and the Queen of Hearts' dismembered body disappeared. He's murdered our Queen, a card soldier shouted. He'll pay for this, another shouted. The card soldiers charged toward the Tin Woodsman and Trollbella, but just as they were about to pierced by the soldiers' weapons, everyone in the park was suddenly distracted by a bright light in the sky. The Tin Woodsman and Trollbella looked up and saw the Basque 8 had finally arrived. The Cyborg Queen and Commander Neuters observed the park from the window of the command bridge. I believe this is the park we've been looking for, Your Majesty, Commander Neuter said. Oh yes, this is definitely Washington Square Park. I can see it filled with those boxy soldiers we agreed to defeat. This city has more square parks than all my planets combined, the Cyborg Queen said. Anywho, I can see we're a little tardy. Send the cyborgs to assist the metal lumberjack and that vertically challenged friend of his. Yes, madam, Commander Neuter said, and turned to the cyborg soldiers. You heard the Queen. To the park. A wide door opened across the Basque 8's belly, and the thousands of cyborgs glided into Washington Square Park. They descended using jetpacks, hoverboards, and personal propellers. Before engaging in combat, the cyborgs' first order of business was to transport the Tin Woodsman and Troll Bella to the top of Washington Square Park's arch. Once they were safe, the cyborgs wreaked havoc on the Card soldiers. The Wonderland natives were skilled fighters, but they were no match for the cyborgs' laser guns, gamma bombs, and rocket launchers. It wasn't long before the Cards surrendered and were taken aboard the Basque 8 as the cyborgs' prisoners. As the battle ended, the Tin Woodsman sat on the edge of the tall arch and let out a big sigh. What's wrong? Trollbella asked. I've always been hollow, but for the first time in my life I feel truly empty inside, the Tin Woodsman said. I always thought a heart would fill the void, but now that I know I've had one all along, I'm not really sure what to do with myself. The Tin Woodsman's dilemma was Trollbella's dream come true. She stared in wonder at the most beautiful sight she'd ever seen. An emotionally mature, vulnerable, and needy man. The Trollblin Queen had a seat beside the Tin Woodsman and longingly gazed up at him, batting her eyes. You know, I fit perfectly inside your chest, she remarked. Perhaps I'm the heart you've been searching for? Trollbella put her tiny hand into his and rested her horns on his shoulder. In that moment, the Tin Woodsman was certain he had a heart, because the troll girl's touch made him blush. Rat Mary and the witches flew through New York City as erratically as possible, but nothing threw off their determined followers. Lester, Jack, and Goldilocks soared after the witches as they dangerously zigzagged between buildings, looped around skyscrapers, and dived under bridges. Absolutely nothing was going to stop the daring parents from retrieving their son. Lester was gaining more and more ground with each passing second. Soon they were in reaching distance of the bristles on the last witch's broom. I've got an idea, Jack told his wife and the gander. We'll follow the witches to that cluster of buildings in the distance, and when we get there, we'll go around the green tower and cut them off before Jack could finish unwrapping his plan, Goldilocks sprang into action with a plan of her own. She leapt off Lester's back and landed on the broomstick of the closest witch. Goldilocks fought the witch for control of the broom, and just as the witch was about to zap her with a magic spell, Goldilocks punched the witch in the face and she landed in the East River. Goldilocks gripped the broomstick tightly with both hands. She'd never ridden on a witch's broom before, and it took her a moment to figure out how to work it. It was a pleasant surprise to learn that riding a magic broom was very similar to riding a horse. When she leaned forward, the broom zoomed ahead. When she pulled up on the handle, the broom slowed down. Once she felt confident, she turned to Jack and Lester flying beside her and filled them in on her plan. I'm going to work my way to the front of the witches, she told them. I'm going to hop aboard Rat Mary's broom and get Hero. Be careful, Goldie, Jack said. Careful never got me anywhere, she said with a wink. The courageous mother leaned forward, and the broomstick's speed gradually increased. As she flew past the witches, Goldilocks did whatever she could to knock them out of the sky. She slammed into them, shoved them off their brooms, and pulled the witches' hair so they'd fall backwards into the city, and she kicked their broom handles and sent them spinning out of control. Finally, only ones left in the flying procession were Goldilocks, Rat Mary, and Hero. Goldilocks snuck up behind Rat Mary's broom and jumped off her own, landing beside the witch. Give me my son back, she demanded. Why do breeders get so attached to their young? Rat Mary screeched. You can just make another one, you know. The witch twisted and looped through the air. She dipped and made sharp turns. She even flew upside down at one point, but nothing knocked Goldilocks off the broom. The vigorous movement only rocked Hero to sleep. Gosh, you're relentless, Rat Mary said. Here, just take the little raft. I'll find another one. The witch sliced the strap of the baby Bajoran with her sharp fingernail, and the contraption slid off the witch's body and fell toward the ground with Hero inside it. Goldilocks dived off Rat Mary's broomstick and caught her son in midair. The mother and child fell thousands of feet through the air. A few seconds before they would have hit the ground, Lester swooped under them, and they landed safely in Jack's arms. Curses! Rat Mary said. I was hoping for a splat. Ironically, the witch wasn't watching where she was going and slammed headfirst into the Flatiron Building. The messy impact made one thing abundantly clear. Rat Mary's kid-snatching, broom-riding, potion-brewing days were over. Jack and Goldilocks were overjoyed to finally have Hero back in their arms. The happy couple embraced their newborn son, and Lester carried the reunited family back towards Central Park to find their friends. Whoa! That was quite a chapter. Whoa, that was a lot. Wild. So much craziness. Holy moly. We got through like a million battles. And we have exactly the right amount of chapters left to finish on Friday. And we fly out Saturday morning, so that's literally perfect. For anyone who's wondering, I have uploaded all of the previous chapters already as of last night. So the only one not uploaded is today's, which is good. Wild. Wild. What a time. What a time to be alive. So I'll probably be on later this afternoon, maybe like 3 or 4 for slime stuff. I don't know exactly which slime stuff yet. It depends on what I get through before that. But I gotta finish up the Easter things. I know, right? Amazing. Femo potential, it's true. Yeah. Flying appendages. We should get little broom Femos. Anyway, thank you all for hanging out. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later. Bye, friends.